Your CV is the first point of call for an employer to look at you and decide if they want to interview you. So getting your CV right from the offset is really, really important. So firstly, please make sure that you've got the correct contact information. Your name, your address, not your full address, but just the town that you live in and the county. The correct telephone number. The amount of CVs that we get have got an incorrect phone number on, and then we can never get hold of you, and an email address. And maybe just think about your email address. You may want to set up a separate email address for your job search, and make sure it's not, the one that you set up in school that's like Sugar Baby 1995 at hotmail.com. Make sure it sounds professional, because again, that's the first impression of you. I'd highly recommend always doing a personal profile statement. That personal profile is, again, the first bit of on the top of your CV that the employer is going to see, and it draws them in. So what we're looking for there is, what are your aspirations and goals for this job search? What do you want out of this job search? Where are you so far? So I'm a multi-skilled maintenance engineer with a level 4 qualification. I've worked in the industry for however many years, 10 years, 5 years, and now I'm looking for progression, my next step. I want to learn new things. I want to lead a team, whatever that looks like for you. So just a short, sharp paragraph of, this is who I am and this is what I'm looking for. Your career history is really important, and it needs to be really relevant. So depending on how long you've had a career for, I always recommend going in chronological order, so starting with the most recent and working backwards. Now, we don't need to know about your paper round when you were 7 if that's not relevant to what we're doing today. So we need to know, first of all, what your current title of your job is. And again, what you may want to include there is what that's commonly known as, because a maintenance technician in the role that you're working in may be called a multi-skilled engineer somewhere else. So maintenance technician, in brackets, multi-skilled engineer, that will help with the Boolean searches as clients are searching for candidates. And then we need to be really clear and concise. So what dates you've been working there, the month and the year. Make sure your dates are correct as well. We do see some blending of dates occasionally, and it will come back to bite you. And then a brief overview of the job, so what your day-to-day role looks like, and I would always recommend bullet pointing that. So with the amount of time that you want to go back over on your career history will really depend upon how long you've been employed for. I would always recommend giving it at least 10 years. 15 depending on how many jobs you've had. So for example, if you've been in your current role for 10 years, you probably want to include the previous job as well. If you've moved around a lot in the last 10 years, I would include the last 10 years worth of history, and then put something along the lines of further career history can be obtained. But again, also keep it relevant for the jobs that you're applying for. If you did a hairdressing course 15 years ago and we're just looking at maintenance roles now, I probably wouldn't include that information unless you were going back into hairdressing. Qualifications and training courses, again, keep it relevant. So if you have had your hairdressing course, for example, and you've got 15 qualifications in that, but it's not relevant to this role, I probably wouldn't include all of them. Start with your highest to lowest. If you've got a master's degree or it's a level 4, whatever your qualification, your highest qualification is, and again, keep them relevant. So it's maintenance roles or engineering roles that we're looking at that they're at the top. Any then skills and training courses that you've done afterwards are underneath. Hobbies and volunteering is a great way of an employer to get to know a little bit about you outside of work from your CV. So absolutely include it if it's relevant. A hobby is not going down the pub with your mates and having a beer every Friday. Hobby or volunteering, whether you're running a children's football team or you tinker with bikes on a weekend and that's your thing, absolutely, if it's relevant to the role, if you're looking at management roles and you're managing a football team, absolutely that then makes that relevant. If you're an engineer that likes stripping down bikes on a weekend or rebuilding camper vans or motorhomes or anything like that, again, it's really relevant to the role, so include those in there. Your CV needs to be as long as it takes to get the right and the relevant information across. So again, thinking about the attention span of the person that's looking at your CV, I would always say 2 to 4 pages. 4 pages is a real maximum. But again, it needs to be as long as it takes to get the relevant information across. I've said relevant a few times throughout this, but that really is keeping it relevant. Another top tip I can give you about your CV is the person who is reading your CV, the person that's desk that CV lands on, may not do the job that you do. So make it really clear and really concise on what you do day to day in your role, because they will have a job specification. They'll be the gatekeeper to see whether your CV then gets passed on to the hiring manager. So keep it really clear, really relevant, and use language that a nice, blonde lady recruiter like me can understand.